In Quebec, forage crop yields are not up to expectations, not as high as they generally should be. The instinct is to place the blame on difficult weather conditions. But look around you, even on your own farm. Some fields have better yields than others, even under difficult climatic conditions. Increasingly, you realize that, as it is with other crops, forage crop yields are often limited by the quality of the soil that encompasses many things. Obviously, not just fertilization, but fertility in the broader sense, meaning not only the chemical properties, but also the physical and biological properties of our soils. How can we learn to better understand our soils? Off the top of my head, I would say grab a shovel and see what's under the surface. What is my soil made of? Is it healthy? What deficiencies does it have? What are its weaknesses? So you go to the field, which I do regularly with agronomists and farmers. You're going to pick a problem field and right away dig a hole, generally up to 30 inches deep and 2 to 2.5 feet in diameter, with a shovel if necessary. This will take the time it takes, and you do it in an area of the field where the yield is poor. Thus, the importance of having a farmer present to guide us, and in an area where the yield, in hay for example, is superior. We actively participate, not just watch. We do small in-house tests. With a pocket knife, you can test to see if there is compaction. You can see how the soil crumbles, how it falls apart in your hand. And in falling apart, it remains in a very, very hard lump. Well, obviously this is a sign of lack of aeration and a sign of compaction, etc. If you don't attack or try to prevent compaction, you're never going to correct it. In other words, it is pointless to build a foundation if you're not ready to give more importance to the bearing capacity of the ground. For example, in the spring, one is often fooled by seeing the soil that has dried on the surface, while underneath it is still very wet, and one can cross a hayfield in the springtime without necessarily seeing ruts, at least not large ones. But you're going to cause compaction in the profile, and that is much more difficult to correct than surface compaction. In a soil quality improvement process, as I said, the first thing is to respect the load-bearing capacity of the soil. After that, it is to shorten the hayfield. I mean, shorten the life of the field. On the one hand, it is certain that the crops that follow the hay will benefit in general, from an input of nitrogen, among others, from a structure, from an interesting microbial life, as long as the hayfield is not too old. But what we too often forget is that a more frequent rotation of the crop also improves the yield. The length of the rotation or the life of the hayfield should never, in my opinion, exceed 6 years. To put another crop subsequently, but 5 years wouldn't be a bad maximum. Very often, if you respect the bearing capacity and you have a field that is not particularly old, and you correct the pH, and if you've done all of these 3 steps, normally, in the long term, you should achieve a satisfactory level of productivity from our fields. Personally, I'm in favor of a step-by-step approach, which means that rather than trying to correct everything in the same year, one should start with the field or fields that cause us the most problems. It is much more stimulating afterwards to return to the fields to do soil profiles if you have made some interesting progress in these fields at the outset.